Hey everyone, welcome to the Industry Show. I'm your host Nitin Bajaj, and joining us today is Jim Semick, co-founder of ProductPlan. Jim, welcome on the show.
Oh, Nitin, thank you so much for asking me to be here.
It's all our pleasure. We're looking forward to getting to know you better.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Let's talk about entrepreneurship and my journey.
Sounds like a plan. So tell us, who is Jim Semick?
Well, I am in my 50s, live in Santa Barbara, California. I'm the father of twin boys who just turned 18, and I'm very proud of them. I lead a really active lifestyle. I'm have been in product management and building and launching products now for almost 20 years. I'm co-founder of ProductPlan, which is a product roadmap software, and happy to talk about that journey.
Sounds awesome. And we were just talking about this. You are doing whatever you're doing is working out for you, and you could pass it as a 30-year-old. So kudos to you. So,
Thank you very much.
no, I really mean it. So tell us a little more about Product Plan, the size and scale of its operations, some of the customers. You have some amazing logos.
So about 7 years ago, we launched this product, and we decided intentionally to keep the business small and bootstrapped. And so we looked for certain businesses that we could get in, and it could be a very targeted SaaS offering to businesses. And that's when we decided to take our passion for product management and turn that into a product. And so we launched product roadmap software, which is a way of visually communicating your product strategy to stakeholders. It's a way of planning planning what you're going to build, and better showing people why you're building it. And so we have customers now, such as Spotify, Microsoft, Expedia, and companies like that are using our software to build their software. And really proud of how far we've come. And building a bootstrap company, of course, is very challenging in the early days. You're very resource constrained. But it's worked out really well for us, and we're now almost 50 employees.
That's such an amazing story, specifically the bootstrapping it to this size where you have 50 employees, like you said, and some amazing logos. Tell us a little more about what that journey was.
Especially in the early days, you want to hire these rock star developers, for example, and you simply can't afford them. And so you need to make certain sacrifices along the way and get very creative in how you're building software and how you're getting to market. So you need to be creative with your hiring practices, creative with incentivizing and sharing equity, creative about the marketing strategy, and getting really crafty with how that process goes. But I chalk up our success in great part to the market validation that we did at the very early stages. I took the practices that I learned in AppFolio and GoToMeeting and products like that, where we did a very regimented market validation process, interviewing customers or potential customers, and in a sense, pre-selling the software, pre-selling the solution before we actually started building. And unlike most startups, they start building and then they try to find fit after the fact. And our experience was that you validate first. You know that you'll have customers waiting to buy if you build what you told them, and then you get to market.
Yeah, it's as if you read my mind. I was going to talk about, you guys are not a cool startup because you didn't have to do any pivots because you already knew what you were going to build. So, in that light gesture, what did you guys use to lay out the product roadmap for Product Plan?
That's a great question. So today we use Product Plan, of course. So we use Product Plan to share our roadmap, and so everyone in the company can look at any time, can look at this live roadmap that we have. And then our director of product is very transparent about the way that she is prioritizing the product roadmap. And as a management team, we have these trade-off discussions regularly about what are we building? Why are we building? What's the future strategic direction? Where are the competitors going, and how can we differentiate ourselves from the competition going forward? So we're always having these conversations, and then those are reflected in the product roadmap. And we've decided to take the approach of building a product that solves a couple of problems really well.
In the industry, we talk a lot about product manager being the CEO of the product, right? So it's draw some parallels, if you will, in having been a product manager and being an entrepreneur. What are some of the similarities that lie between the two of a product manager and an entrepreneur?
But the similarities are that as a CEO, you have a vision that you're driving towards, right? And you need to rally a team around that vision. You also need to interact with different stakeholders from different departments. So you need to interact with sales and marketing and customer success and engineering and make sure that everyone is going in the same direction. And so as a CEO, one needs to be inspirational. You need to have your eye on the metrics and the goals and the KPIs that you're driving towards, and make sure that everyone is on the same page with that. Now, product manager is very similar, right? Product manager drives towards a vision. A product manager also needs to rally these different stakeholders and get everybody on the same page. One of the major differences, though, is that a product manager can't dictate what they do, right? It's as a product manager, you need to rally people around a vision without having a club. You don't have that because you don't have people reporting to you often. You need to get everybody on the same page in nuanced ways. You need to tell a story so that everybody buys into that story, rather than saying you're going to follow this story because of your boss. And so I think that's where the major differences are, is that a CEO of an organization can dictate what happens.
And talking about what goes into that day, give us a flair for what your typical day looks like. Meetings, planning, road mapping, talking to customers, getting involved with sales. What does it look like?
Yeah, absolutely. It's evolved, and this is one of the wonderful things about being an entrepreneur. So as the company evolves, as the company grows, as the product has found product market fit, my role has changed. In the early days, my co-founder and I, we would spend so much time on the product, really, really working on the product, talking about all of the different potentials, actually doing prototypes and putting those in front of customers. There was a lot of customer engagement, just trying to figure out what is the right thing to build. And then it evolves into company building, where you need to think about hiring the right people. So then you move into that role where you're kind of setting the stage. You're hiring the right people who will either be your managers or are capable of becoming your managers. And then the problems of how do we grow this company? But my responsibilities moved through that customer journey, from acquisition through sale to eventually leading this customer success team, and then eventually moving on to what I'm doing today, which is as Chief Strategist and Evangelist. So I'm an evangelist for ProductPlan. I speak on product management conferences. I speak on shows like this. I really enjoy all of the interaction that I have, even if it's a virtual interaction today, and talking about ProductPlan, talking about our journey, talking about the product itself.
Jim, I love your modesty, humility, and the transparency. Thank you. This is what the show is about, being able to share your experiences with others that can learn from it and get inspired and motivated. So thank you for that. Tell us a little more about, as you went through this journey of, starting up broad and then kind of narrowing down to what you do today. In the process, you guys hired a CEO. What was the thought process as you were going through that transition, and what does it look like now?
in the early days, as a founder, you do it all, and you can do, you could go out and buy the coffee for the office, right? You need to do it all. I call myself I'm the desk assembly, right? But you can't from an operational and growth standpoint rely on those skills to take the company to the next stage. And I can't say what that number was in terms of size of the company or the number of employees, but a company gets to a point in its cycle where you need to bring in someone who has that growth mindset, who has that operational background, and we reached that point. And that was the decision that we needed to make. And so both my co-founder and I recognized that there were different skills that are needed.